Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this call, and thanks for the other panelists for the really insightful presentation. So today we'll be looking at digital transformation in financial services. We'll look at 5 key roadblocks and challenges and how you can overcome those by leveraging service management. Okay, so my name is Luke. I'm one of the account managers here at Freshservice, and I'm joined by Anand, who will be doing a short demonstration afterwards. So the way that we'll conduct this presentation is I'll run through some of the challenges, solutions that we can see in Freshservice, and then Anand will run you through demonstrations. As always, this is a session for you guys. If you have any questions, please come off mute, interrupt us. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay. So we see that digital transformation is something that everybody wants to do, right? But actually, only 27% are actually executing it. And the reason for that is, well, there's 5 key challenges that we've identified. The first one is the on-prem legacy infrastructure. So you need to have a system that supports that digital transformation, that allows you to have the flexibility to implement this. The second one is, how do you balance the security aspect with a modern UX for your end users, but also for your agents? The third one is, it goes back to one of the sessions earlier around the asset management piece, the infrastructure of your assets, being able to track these, understanding who do they sit against, and being able to report against that. The fourth one is not leveraging artificial intelligence and automations to drive productivity. A lot of manual tasks in traditional systems. And the fifth one is, how do you ensure business continuity, particularly when you receive a lot of alerts in your system? Okay. So if we look at the first challenge, Capgemini state that 68% of banking executives believe that their legacy systems are a significant barrier to innovation. And what we're seeing in the industry is that actually a lot of the more traditional legacy systems are expensive to set up, expensive to maintain, complex to use, and generally have a slow time to value. So particularly if you have an on-premise solution, it will cost you quite a significant amount to install this. Any support that you need on top of this, any upgrade that you need to perform on that system will cost. And then more generally, in terms of the upgrades and maintenance costs, they're quite high as well. So what we're trying to do at Freshservice is provide a out-of-the-box SaaS platform that is first and foremost intuitive, both from an end user perspective, but from an agent perspective as well. So we want to drive the adoption because we feel like adoption will get you halfway there. If you have your employees leveraging the solution internally, if you have agents that are happy to log into Freshservice or your ITSM solution to perform their work on a day-to-day basis, you're halfway there. We want a system that is configurable. So configurable means you have the keys to edit any workflows, to create those form fields, to create those workflows, to build those automations yourselves. You don't rely on a third party like us or like a partner, for example, to help you through this. It's integrated both with your current tech stacks. You will have 50, 100 different applications that you currently have. How do we integrate that with Freshservice, with that tech stack, so you can build those automations? And how do we extend that to the enterprise? So we traditionally see service management as an IT function. Actually, with a lot of our customers, we see the IT team obviously implementing Freshservice, but then other departments such as HR, finance, facilities coming to see them and say, hang on a second, we could do exactly the same thing. We could position our services on the service catalog as well, and how our service management function. So how do you incorporate all of those enterprise function within a service management solution, and then build those automations, right? We talked about how manual a lot of those traditional systems are. How do you make sure that your agents can self-serve? How do you make sure that, your end users can self-serve? How can your agent be as productive as possible? And then one of the key points that we need to touch on as well is the partnership. We don't have the time to do that today, but choosing the right partner that is at the right stage of your maturity level. And then all of this, if you compile all of that, you should have a really good time to value. Okay. Now, these are just stats that I've got from Accenture, which tell you that moving to the cloud compared to a traditional on-premise solution will reduce your cost by 40%. This is due to obviously the implementation costs, which are higher, the ability to bundle all of those licensing in a SaaS model that will save you about 5%, and then everything to do with the support piece as well. So it's the decision to move to cloud is one that obviously many organizations have done currently. We're still seeing some organizations lagging behind for numerous reasons, but from a costing perspective, the switch is quite obvious. Now, the second challenge is how do we provide the right experience to our customers? So PwC state that 73% of the customers say that experience is a super important factor when choosing a provider. And what we're trying to do with Freshservice is provide that modern UX, okay? One that will allow your end users to get access to the self-service portal, which Anand will show you, and have access to their favorite form of reaching out to your agents, be that email, be that the self-service portal, be that the chat bot, and have access to your knowledge here, have access to your forms to be able to raise incidents, to be able to raise a request for a new service, for example, and do that not only for IT, but also for the rest of the business. We've integrated Microsoft Teams, Slack, preferred enterprise communication channels to make sure that agents don't have to go into the systems if they don't want to, and users can just simply request that directly from the bot and have that kind of botified experience. And then the third piece is around enterprise service management, which I touched upon earlier. Okay. The third piece is around compliance and asset management and being able to kind of track everything that is coming in. It's a huge expenditure for all of the organization, all of the financial organizations out there. And what we're trying to do is, with Freshservice, you have the ability, using the discovery probe and agent, to discover your infrastructure, be that on cloud or on premise, and have a detailed log of all of your assets. Who is it assigned to? How long is that asset been with us for? What is the kind of depreciation on that asset? Any changes that have been made from one user to the other? And then automatically discover the relationship between an asset. If an asset falls or breaks, how is that going to impact your other assets kind of lying behind this? And then the idea is, how do we eliminate as much of the paperwork, those sheets where you kind of keep all of your asset data, etc. How do you bring all of that in, as well as your contracts, your vendors, so you can get notified as to when a contract is going to expire. And we can do that as well with software license management, and we'll come back to this a little bit later. The fourth piece is around manual tasks. So how do we eliminate as much of this as possible? And there are huge savings that can be made leveraging automations, leveraging AI. So if we look at kind of what can be done at Freshservice, we've got three main avenues, and we'll focus on AI in more detail. But there is the AI piece, which we provide both to the end users and to the agent, also to the management team. The workflow automator, where you can build all of those automation if a ticket comes from a specific with a specific priority for a specific subject line or whatever it might be. You can build those workflows, and Anand will show you this. The idea is to make sure that all of the triaging side of it is completely automated, and you can start resolving those incidents as quickly as possible. And the third piece is around the orchestration spend. So take, for example, an onboarding scenario. A new collaborator comes in. You want to make sure that as an IT user, you don't have to create that user on every single piece of software that you're using or every single system that you're using. So you can build this orchestration if and just tie those user creation across the board. And then if we touch a bit more on AI, so it's kind of the word on everybody's lips, and we're doing a bit of research. It's going to account for 15.7 trillion of the global economy in 2030, which is about 10% of the global economy. I think it's probably going to be even more than that. But what we're seeing from last year, the data that we're seeing on 84% in 25, that's from 2023. So that probably goes up a little bit, especially the one on the right-hand side. But most IT leaders are exploring AI and how to leverage it, but not many have actually invested in it. And I've put a quote from Porsche behind underneath that say that Freshservice AI is actually the backbone to their IT operations, and they're using some of the features that I'm going to describe to you in a second to support their IT support. So there are three main avenues for generative AI in Freshservice. The first one is from an end user perspective, okay, and how we can leverage bots to resolve incidents as quickly as possible, to raise those requests, and more generally enable end users to self-serve, okay? Because what that means then for the second piece is you won't have all of those tickets that are repetitive created for your agents to take care of. Because the main issue with agents is I've got a lot of tickets to take care of and I don't have the time to do it. So how can AI assist that? So it can assist from an end user perspective, enabling end users to self-serve. But from an agent perspective, we have features like the article summary generator, or the knowledge article generator, or CAN responses, which enable agents at 2 or 3 clicks to create knowledge to then publish on the self-service portal, enabling end users to self-serve, or just generate a summary of a ticket that might have had 20, 50 updates between lots of different people, and within one paragraph, see what's happening and what needs to be done, okay? So again, Anand will show you this in a minute. And the third piece is around Freddy Insights, which is our kind of conversational reporting engine, which the same way you would write on ChatGPT, you know, can you tell me how many tickets I'm having to deal with, etc., or how many tickets I've resolved in the past month. You can do something similar, and it will come up with all of that data. Anything that sits within Freshservice, you'll be able to report on in a conversational manner. And it can also present the leadership team with some proactive insights based on what the kind of key priorities of the organizations are. Then the fifth challenge is around how do we kind of keep the lights on, or when they go off, how do we turn them back on as soon as possible? So there are obviously financial organizations, and most organizations see a whole lot of alerts coming in to their systems, right? And these cost an awful lot of money. You can see sort of just down here, just almost $13,000 per minute in outage. So how do we make sure that when we do have an outage, because unfortunately it happens to everybody, when we do have an outage, how do we make sure that that outage is as short as possible and we can remediate to it, leveraging automation, and we are as reactive as possible? And so within Freshservice, you've got the intelligent alert management, which allows you to kind of detect those as quickly as possible, to raise an incident against that, to get assigned to the right team, to create a major incident, etc., to make sure that actually within a matter of seconds, minutes, you've got the right people involved, you've got the right urgency that is assigned to this, and then you've got the modern on-call management, which allows you kind of full coverage 24/7, depending on you may have teams spread across the world, so it's to make sure that there is coverage whenever an alert comes up. And yeah, I think that covers all of the sort of 5 key challenges that I wanted to go through today. I'm going to hand it over to Anand now to walk you through kind of a short demonstration of what those challenges and how these look in Freshservice.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Luke. And hi everyone, I'm Anand, and you can remember me as the guy who's standing between you and lunch. So, before we go on to look into how Fresh Service can help, as Luke talked about, there are 5 different elements that we feel in the banking and financial services industry that are hindering some of these particular steps towards their upgrade. So, with that said, what we saw as 5 different challenges and how potentially we as Freshworks approached it. The first challenge that we thought about is why would a company change from a legacy and what would it take them to go to cloud servicing? So the impact that this service needs to be pretty huge to what the past systems have provided. And how can we take it on? The first thing for us to take that challenge head on is to take into the self-service portal. Here is a very good example of if ITSMF uses Fresh Service, how would their self-service portal look like? Right. This portal again is dependent on who logs into the system. If you have the ability to actually onboard new people, raise requests for onboarding, then you would have these particular options. If not, the approval process, the terms, the services, and everything would be completely different. So the UI has to be different. Is that enough in this today's day and age? No, certainly not. We want to bring in the teams. Again, this is a full view of teams in a dark mode that is enabled on my screen here. So we have brought in the service to where your employees are. So when there is a question which is related to a PO, which is related to a tax, so your personal income tax or a payroll tax, or any of those particular questions, you just ask the question in the Teams, and the bot or the self-service can enable and give a little bit of a quick summary of what this particular process is. And this is where the AI is so powerful in getting and bringing the right articles towards you. So it can help you, as my previous speakers here, Duncan talked about, using that LLMs to good effect. So use that LLMs to be very purposeful and driving those particular results towards answering those frequently asked questions, which is in your knowledge base. Is that enough? We want to take it a step further and then say, doesn't matter if you read through it, if you still don't know what the process is, and if you still want to go ahead and raise some issues with your invoices in this example, you can go ahead and simply place those requests from your Microsoft Teams as such. Again, I'm just using Microsoft Teams as an example. You can do it in Teams, you could do it in Slack, which are two most famous systems that is used, widely used across enterprise and businesses, small scale businesses all across the globe. So be where your employees are, reduce another channel or another portal which the employees even go and need to log into as well. You still always have that backup option to go back and rely on your portal. And then, is this the only CX the UX that can help that particular change? Shift from from an employee to an agent perspective. The first visualization that this software needs to be is it needs to improve the adoption across different teams, different types of users, IT managers, IT leaders, and agents across different work streams as well. And if we are going to call ourselves an enterprise service management, it means it's not going to be used by just IT. We're going to extend this across your facilities, your legal, who are business users rather than technical users. So this is so easy and simple to consume for your users. This is a live dashboard, what you see here. Present accurate information, and as soon as they come into this particular dashboard view. This includes your number of tickets that comes in, what are the priority of those particular tickets, and who is going to be the best just this quick way of encouraging people to answer those particular queries as soon as possible. We have a leaderboard which can automatically tell you who is really quick, who's being the who's sharing the knowledge the most with people, who is the wizard of IT as far as an example is concerned here, and then how long you even take to resolve back those particular queries that come into your service there. Moving on from the modern UX, the design should be as good as the function it can provide. As we talked about, as Luke talked about the second set of example, which is on how can we be compliant. Banking and finance are the most regulated of any industries that I have personally worked with. So you have regular audits, you need to be compliant on processes, and these banking and financial systems across the globe are so strong because of the processes. And how can we make that process simple and easy to use? You have those assets from an IT standpoint. What are the critical information and infrastructure they use? They use physical assets like a laptop, a mobile phone, and then there are virtual assets like a server in a particular location, or even a cloud hosted systems, for example. If we can bring all that together and then list that in an asset management, we call that as a CMDB here. So you can see the list of all assets across the systems that the teams are using. And also, if we go a little bit dive deeper, we can also tell you what that asset is, what the type of asset is, which data center that you're doing, what's the subtype of that particular asset, and so on and so forth. And if you also notice on my screen, you also have an option which shows a barcode attached to each and everything. Wherever these particular assets are, whether it's in a data center, whether it is in a physical assets like your chairs and tables, stick the barcode in, and whenever you are going around as a team to do the final audit checks, just use the mobile app from us, which is on the iOS and the Android and the Android devices. If you scan through that particular asset, even at the back of my laptop, you can just scan through that particular asset, and then it will give you the right information in this particular section here. So it is an all-round system where you can see what that particular asset is, how that particular asset is hosted, and what, if it's a server, for example, what ERP systems do you use, whether it's a CRM, whether it is a email servers, how is it linked, what are the databases that you use in case Tal from ECB, you mentioned about using a data lake. How is the data lake hosted? What are the different systems attached to it? Are they up and running? Is there because you're bringing in lots of amount of data? Is that is the system up? Do we have enough space? How can we look into that? That's where the relationship mapping, what you see on my screen, really helps you. Is it just on cloud assets? No, we can bring in every single thing. It includes your tables and physical assets like a table and chair. So if we look at this is my old computer as an asset, where the system has automatically recognized what system that I use, what's the version of Mac OS that I use, and even to the case, which is really important for all the banking and financial services industry people here, which is it can even tell you who has logged into this particular system as well. So this information from an audit type perspective, if you want, you can just download it and share it when the auditing is supposed to happen every month, every quarter, or every 6 months. Moving on to the third aspect, is it just asset management? Whenever information comes in, we want to even look at how we can solve for those particular issues. As I mentioned, the system is there. The ways that we have given options for your end users to even raise the tickets via Teams. This is how a ticket looks. I have some glitches on the screen, and Chris is reporting that information to us. We need to know what's the priority of the ticket before even we respond to him. And we can also see the classifications of that particular ticket that is coming. So now, because this is a hardware issue, maybe there might be some ways that we can try and raise and generate an automated response for the users. So how can we do that? That is where the purpose for AI comes into picture. So the purpose of the AI is to generate a response which corroborates with what are the options that is available from this particular section here. We can also go through this particular example with seeing the related tickets. We have people who have raised similar issues in the past and it has been solved by different people. We can go back to that particular tickets. System looks into the past tickets, looks at it, get that information back to you so that you can answer that particular question pretty quickly. What are we trying to do here? We're trying to reduce the onboarding time of people into this particular system. So this gives you the ability to move people who are doing really well from one team to another, or the vice versa as well. So that helps them learn the system pretty quickly, get the assistance of AI, and then obviously try and respond to those particular queries from there. Now, when we talk about it, is it just in terms of AI we do it? No. I think it was Keaton who talked about it, and to an extent, Duncan also mentioned this. Any AI is as good as the systems that it integrates with. We can use any automation to try and integrate with your internal systems to try and get that particular remediation workflows done. So not all solutions would be handled by AI. So there are some solutions which needs to be handled by humans, and there are some solutions which can be automated. For those can be automated solutions, we already integrate with some of the cloud system providers like AWS, Azure, Microsoft Office 365, and Microsoft systems, other systems of Microsoft like an Active Directory and so on. So that helps us get you a step ahead in reducing those mundane tasks automated, and then focus on the right resolution remedies for those complex activities. Because our AI, again, when I say AI, it's artificial intelligence and not Apple intelligence. As we talk about AI, the AI sits behind and helps you as an enabler technology towards the future. Can even help you post some incidents if there is a major network outage. The site resolution engineers, the network security teams, they need to be alert. And even if they're on break, they just get some message being posted as a major incident in their Slack or a Teams channel as well. So that helps them take that quick look and see whichever resolutions that they need to do at a later stage. That is where our workflow automator is. It's too powerful there. Again, if you go back to the steps, we looked at your employee experience, we looked at your agent experience, we looked at the different teams' experience. We never forget the leaders who are there in this particular room as well. So for you leaders, we want to give you the Freddy insights. What the insights give here is the system gives you information about what are the spikes which is going on within this particular ecosystem. So when you have different teams, especially whether it's an IT, whether it's an HR, whether it's a payroll team, whether it is your legal and finance, what we wanted to give you is if there is a spike between any of these particular teams and how they're answering these particular queries, we want to use AI to tell you and give you the spike within the next 24 hours. So these trends would help you analyze the team's performance on why this is happening. And if you want to take a remedial action, if you want to have more people in the team because they are really struggling because of the amount of queries that has come in. Here in the UK, what we've seen is every time the payroll team, I'm good friends with the payroll team as you are, when I speak to them, whenever HMRC changes well, tax code, we have a flurry of inquiries, and then we had to find more people to handle these particular inquiries as well. So we can anticipate those spikes by using AI in this particular section here. Again, we want to be more conversational. You can ask give me the count of urgent priority tickets, give me more details about this in plain simple English, and then we want to present to you that particular we want to present to you that particular information about what is the priority, what's that particular information, just as you would ask in plain simple English. We're also bringing this in different languages because we have European customers, and those European customers would definitely love to have it in their local language as well. Now, the most important of analytics. When we think about all this information, we have the assets, we have the number of tickets, how you're performing, what is the number of what is the number of total number of tickets that are coming in? How are we performing as a team? Should we need to get in more people? What is the prediction that needs to happen for the next quarter, next month, next year? If we want to set this up, we want to arm you with that particular data. That is what our analytics that you see here. All this information, the last 30 days, you received so and so, is good. Resolution has gone down. From an SLI compliance perspective, we're not doing really good, so we need to really focus on that. Average resolution time has gone up, so we need to really focus on that. But however, we are using the AI. We're also using we're also using the first contact resolution scenarios here, so it helps you drive that particular rate up. So now you can dive deep into any of these to check why this has gone down and what type of tickets are we getting just by clicking on the underlying data here. So this helps you understand, are we taking the level, or now the level 1 issues are taken care of? These are issues which needs human intelligence to actually solve for it. And that is why these particular information and data are taking really long time to resolve, obviously. Now, moving on from that, you talked about, I think, Tal and Michaela talked about how being proactive is really important. And that is where we want to step in and then say, yes, absolutely, you are right. Being proactive helps us understand what are the alerts which is going on, and we want to try and give you resolutions beforehand. Now, people who worked within the alert management space would know there is a lot of noise that happens within alert management. What I mean by noise is there are so many alerts that these systems generate, and if you're not an experienced person, you'd be fidgeting about every single error that comes up or every single message or an alert that pops up. Only the experienced people know, okay, this is not something that I need to take care of. If it crosses, let's just say 85% threshold, then I will really start to look at it. In these scenarios, because we are an integrated ecosystem, we can provide you with proactive solutions where the system detects if there is an 85% utilization of your infrastructure, then automatically add an additional system and step that scale up to manage the workload that you're getting on that particular scenario. That's where our powerful orchestration and alert management comes into picture. The end, we wanted to talk about bringing everybody together and bringing in as an enterprise service management teams and leaders that you are. You want to bring in every single team within your company to have the collaborative workspace. We want to give every single team their workspace, but we also wanted to make things manageable. And that's where you can manage your IT, HR, finance, legal, facilities, any other internal teams like marketing. Again, these are just examples. We can manage any different teams that come in, give them the centralized workspace, have them secure, have the information secure against their workspace so that others don't get access to it, so that it is not very crowded as well. And in that scenario, I also wanted to take one of the questions that has come in. Keaton, point taken, how to capture procurement data. So what I've not shown today is we have the ability to capture contracts, purchase order. You can also release purchase orders, but primary for us is the contracts that you see here. So these are different contracts that you have within your company, within your firms. So when you get these particular contracts, you'll be mapping them to the vendor, and those particular vendors will have certain assets which are related to it. If you remember my example of, there you go. This is my asset that I have, and if you also notice on the left-hand side, there is an associated contract associated to it, which is a licensing here. So any hardware, software contracts, or whether it is related to an annual maintenance contract that the teams do, all that becomes into a centralized system here, and it is all mapped. So at any point in time, this is my system, this is my contract associated with it, and if I have any issues associated with that, there you can see I have a Wi-Fi issue, I had a VPN issue with this system. When it comes time for that asset life cycle, you can decide whether to refurb this particular laptop or now that's fine. It's too expensive. Let's procure a new one. And you can make all those decisions by looking at one single system, so that you don't need to speak to multiple people. You don't need to speak to a multitude of different teams, but you will have all the ability in this particular system. Yeah. And that brings my session to a close. And if there are any questions, please feel free to actively put into the chat, and I'm happy to answer those as well. I hope, Keaton, that answered your question, man.